Breaking down the Buckeyes, we've got Griffin Strom on the line from Buckeye Grove, joining us for a first time here at the Voice of College Football. Griffin, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Mark. Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to talk some Buckeye football with you today, my friend.
Looking forward to this one because we've got some topics that you've looked at over the last several weeks and some off the beaten path. So these all intrigue me, so I can't wait to dive into it. Want to remind everyone to like, comment, share the videos on social media, and please subscribe right here. So Ohio State, for as great and illustrious as the program has been, top winning percentage of all time, top winning percentage in any measurable time frame you can go, last 20 years, last 60 years, since World War II, etc., and really charging over Michigan's shoulder for all-time wins, has not necessarily developed nor sent to the NFL the best quarterback play generally, but that has changed during the end of Urban Meyer's tenure, and now certainly Ryan Day has put an emphasis, Griffin, on the passing game.
Yes, sir. And, you look back at, starting with really Braxton Miller, ever since his kind of era, you look at JT Barrett's redshirt freshman year in 2014, he set all those records, school records. And then, after taking the mantle from him, Dwayne Haskins, obviously in his one season, surpassed all of those records. And you got Justin Fields coming right after that. And, I think he has a chance to set that bar even higher this year. If the season is played in entirety, obviously, I think he could even, break that total touchdowns record that Haskins set. But you really look at the development of quarterbacking stats at Ohio State. It's really been in the Ryan Day era, to be honest, from 2017 to now, that you've seen those numbers really balloon. And that's just something interesting to look at going forward. I know like even a few months ago, back around when everything got canceled because of the virus and everything, Ryan Day said to the press in one of those teleconferences we had, he was like, why can't Ohio State become QBU? Like, for his goal for all of his, position coaches and assistants is any position you coach at Ohio State should be, that position university. And so it's just interesting to see how that's unfolding with the quarterback position at Ohio State in recent years.
And it's a reputation you would want to build for an obvious reason. It's the most important position. And if it gets planted into the minds of top high school quarterbacks, then you land one of the best in that position each and every year or most years. And obviously it's a huge step toward winning. So
right.
Made kind of a comparison between Oklahoma and Ohio State.
Yeah. So, I think most people would say without a doubt right now that Oklahoma and Lincoln Riley, that high-powered passing attack down there would definitely qualify as having the grasps on the QBU title. You obviously have Baker Mayfield winning the Heisman, Kyler Murray winning the Heisman, Jalen Hurts was the runner-up for the Heisman last year, and then even this year with Spencer Rattler, he was like the number 1 or 2 rated quarterback, a true freshman class last year, and so their numbers obviously in Oklahoma have just been ridiculous. And I was just thinking to myself, man, the Buckeye quarterbacks have put up some pretty huge numbers, in their own right the last few years. So let me just take a look at kind of comparing those two programs. And I think it's a really good comparison too, because in the past 3 years, so looking back at the Ryan Day era, starting with 2017, 2018, 2019, those 3 years at Ohio State and Oklahoma have both seen 3 different starters at quarterback. So you're kind of comparing the stats there. It's not just comparing the greatness of one outlier quarterback. It's comparing, you're plugging in a different quarterback every year and seeing how productive they can be. And what I would need to dig back into my findings there, but there was a couple of categories. It might be like total, could be maybe passing touchdowns, that the Ohio State quarterbacks in that period have actually thrown more than the Oklahoma passers have. But other than that, like the total yards and stuff like that, it's all been very close. And then I looked at some other schools too, like who else has a claim, for the QBU title. If you see programs like Washington State the past few years with Anthony Gordon last year had like 9 touchdowns in one game. And then even before him, you had Gardner Minshew, those guys have put up huge numbers too. And then even with Alabama too. Alabama's kind of, in a sense, similar to Ohio State in that regard because, their dynasty kind of began, with Nick Saban, and it wasn't like known for the amazing, quarterbacking, passing numbers. But in recent years, with the advent of Tua Tagovailoa and the guys coming up for them now, Bryce Young, their quarterbacking numbers are looking, absurd as well. So yeah, I was just kind of looking like who's really staking their claim at that title for QBU in the past couple of years and moving forward. And Ryan Day is definitely, really aiding Ohio State in that conversation.
Yeah, I'm really not coming up with anybody else that can really challenge the schools that you bring to the forefront right now. Historically, Miami's in the mix, certainly going back to the late 70s with Jim Kelly. Maryland, surprisingly, for as awful as the quarterback play has been there for the last 10 or 15 years, some of the worst in the nation. If you go historically, Boomer Esiason, Frank Reich, and some others, Maryland's produced good quarterbacks. But if, Oklahoma, you mentioned Alabama that had competent quarterback play, and then suddenly they flipped the trigger, much like LSU did this last season in regards to revamping the offense, spreading the ball out, throwing the ball a whole lot more. Clemson, I don't know that they're playing a prolific style of offense or doing anything different. They've just recruited two tremendous generational type talents in Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. So that takes us back to 2014 would have been when Deshaun Watson took over as the starter at Clemson. Yeah. So during the college football playoff era, they've had supreme quarterback play at Clemson as well.
Clemson definitely in terms of name value and guys and Deshaun Watson that have already proved it at the next level, and a guy in Trevor Lawrence that you're looking at as a surefire prospect going into the NFL draft next year. But I was really just trying to look at, those 3 years in the story I wrote, at least, I was just looking at the 3 years in the Ryan Day era, and statistically, like Clemson's just not in that discussion for the last 3 years because, before Trevor Lawrence, it was Kelly Bryant for that 1 year.
Yeah.
Not the stats there weren't anything compared to, some of these crazy numbers that Dwayne Haskins or a Kyler Murray have put up in the last couple of years. But definitely in terms of just talent wise and name value and projecting to NFL success, Clemson, obviously right up there as well.